Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Join us today is Janet, host of Fun Taiwan. Janet, you also been to China.
Yes.
How is this different from Taiwan?
Completely different.
Completely different?
Completely different. I gotta tell you, the first time I went to Shanghai, I was scared. I was very scared.
When was that?
This was about 4 years ago. My Chinese was very, very bad. And I remember I was there working for a commercial. So we had a nice hotel. It was a 5-star hotel. I went in there and, my key didn't work to my room. So I went down to the lobby and I said, sorry, I said as politely as I could in my broken Chinese. I said, oh, I'm sorry, my key doesn't work. And she looks at me, she goes, 你要我干嘛? Like, what do you want me to do about it? And I'm like, I was really shocked. I felt like I did something wrong. And then later on during that trip, I started to realize everybody spoke that way. In the cabs, they were just yelling at each other, like, go this way, go that way. And, I was almost kind of like, oh, okay. And then when I wanted to ask for something, I was like, oh, excuse me, can I have something? They wouldn't listen. So by the end of the trip, I was like, hey, I was like, give me that. I became this kind of mean person. And so I noticed that that's how I became because of this environment that I guess Shanghai gave me. But honestly, a lot of, like I said, my sister lives there now, and she says that a lot of her Chinese, colleagues also don't like Shanghai. So I don't know if this experience is just a Shanghai thing or what.
So Taiwan society is a more polite society in general?
Definitely much more polite and much more clean. And, again, in Shanghai, we were walking down the street, going up the elevator, and this lady wearing a business suit, a very proper woman, she just goes and spits just right there in front of all of us. And again, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that this elegant-looking lady just hawked a loogie in the elevator. Another time we were traveling and we were just about to go into an elevator. The elevator door was closing, and this guy just takes a lit cigarette and just flicks it onto the carpet as the door was closing. That kind of thing you would never see in Taiwan. So I think that was, I guess, the biggest cultural shock difference for me. But obviously, there's great things too. Like I love going there for the massages. They're wonderful, wonderful massages.
That's right. Shanghai massage is very famous. Right?
Yes, and also the food there. I mean, the food is really excellent.
But do you plan to do a TV program there? Fun in Shanghai or in other places as well?
I hope so. I definitely hope so. I think my experiences in China are very limited. I've only been to Shanghai. And now that I've been there more times, I do have more of a mix of great as well as, some strange experiences. But I hope to be able to go to, the outer regions, the more rural areas, or to the south, to Yellow Mountain, it's endless, the beautiful amount of places that China has, like the Great Wall. There's just history there that I would love to be able to see.
Coming back to Taiwan, what is the place that you are hoping to go visit, but you are not able to visit now?
Honestly, it's a very big place, Kaohsiung.
You've never been there?
I've been there, but we haven't filmed it yet. And the reason why I particularly want to go there is because my family's from Kaohsiung. My grandmother, my dad. So the Taiwanese that I speak is more, from the south. And, they came from Hongsua,
Fengshan.
And I've never been there. So I would love to be able to go there and see. I know it's completely different now.
Different, that's right.
But I would love to see, just to experience what it was like, when my dad grew up there. Because it's hard for me to imagine my dad in any other situation than, in the States. So
Does he still have family over there?
No, unfortunately not. All the families now in the States or abroad.
Have you ever been to Penghu?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So Penghu, the island.
That's right.
No. That's another place I would like to go.
Okay. But you've been to Maju, right?
I've been to Matsu and Orchid Island.
What's the experience of going to the offshore island, like Maju?
Oh, they're great.
It's a garrison, right?
It's so much fun. Matsu was just a riot for me. It's full of military. And so I got to experience for the first time what it's like to be in the military. And of course, I have no idea. And, they're all very, very serious. And I'm trying to be serious. But it's just, the whole experience was just, I was so confused. Within the military, everything is very, very systemized. You have, everybody has their role. And I had to jump in and fill one of those roles. Maybe for men it's easier, but for me, I was all over the place. All you had to do is just count 1, 2. I was number 3. And we got to 3, and I was, ah! I just started yelling out random things, and I confused the whole routine, and I just messed everybody up. But that was a lot of fun, and I got to see an artillery show for the first time ever. I've never been so close to a machine gun as maybe the distance was this far.
A real machine gun.
A real machine gun, and I was crawling on the floor. As much as you can prepare yourself for that sound, it's unbelievable. I was so scared. I was honestly scared and excited at the same time. It was a great experience.
Did you go to Kinmen as well?
Where?
Kinmen, Quemoy.
Oh, no. Jingmen, right? No.
It's a national park now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but do you plan to go there?
Hopefully,
in the future?
hopefully we can hit everywhere in Taiwan.
Okay. So now, have you decided to go into TV business as your career?
I guess so. I guess that's what I love to do what I'm doing now, and as long as I can continue to do this, to share Taiwan with the world, I would love to be able to do it. I love the fact that I can not just share the experience with my travel companion, but by having that TV there, I'm sharing it with millions of viewers, and to me, I think that's just great. Hopefully, I can help Taiwan government produce, Taiwan to encourage people to come here.
Let's talk about your other experience. I mean, a Taiwanese living abroad, or Taiwanese American, Taiwanese European, whatever. There are many Taiwanese communities everywhere in the States, in other countries. What's your feeling of being a Taiwanese or American, Taiwanese American in the States, and how do they feel attached to Taiwan?
I think it's different for a lot of people. For me, I was very fortunate. My parents, it's actually strange. They love Taiwan. They love Taiwan as a country. But as a child, I never came back. So everything we heard was just through my dad and my mom's experiences, or through my grandmother. So there were all these stories that we heard as a child. The great thing I think that my parents did was they taught us the local language. They taught us Taiwanese. So there are families who are very, very involved. They come back every summer. They want to make sure that their kids are 100% involved with the Taiwanese culture as an American or as a foreigner. And then there's other families who, unfortunately just completely get involved in whatever society they are in, and not really forget, but they just become where they are, which is natural. I mean, your environment is America or Europe, and so it's easy to get kind of caught up in that.
But did you feel pressured when you were kids, that you have to be apprehensive of Taiwan and a place you never been to?
No, not really. I mean, my parents were really great about just teaching us what they knew and what we could about Taiwan. So current events, or they would teach us about their history, their youth growing up here. And later on, they just let us do whatever we wanted to do with that knowledge. So they actually think it's kind of funny that they left Taiwan to move to the States to give us opportunity to grow up there. And then me and my sister both come back to Asia. So but thanks to them, I have this. I am who I am, and I can come to Taiwan and appreciate Taiwan through my eyes, through a different point of view.
Many of the students here in Taiwan really wish they can be more internationalized, globalized. What would you recommend to them or suggest to them?
I think that's great. I think to have that desire is the first start, and after that, you just go out and do it. Whatever the country is.
How can they do it?
Well, when I started, the first time I really left the country, I was 16 by myself. And I did volunteer work in Ecuador. So you can find venues, you can find organizations that allow you to do volunteer work, to do study abroad, to do work abroad, whatever it is that you're interested. Some people are musicians, so go study in the School of Vienna. There's so many outlets out there. You can do, like I said, you can do volunteer work. And also just as a backpacker, if you have time. Students always have time, but never any money, right?
That's right.
So you do the cheapest methods possible. You just carry a backpack, you meet other travelers, and through that, just kind of make your way around whatever country it is that you would like to go. But I think that the best thing, or the best way to really become international is to learn languages. Starting with whatever you feel is the most useful to you. It might be Spanish, it might be Japanese. With that language, you're going to want to go to those countries that speak those languages. And not only do you get to know the culture there, but you also get to improve your language. So just by improving or wanting to improve language skills, I think you'll really become international.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak 5.
5. Spanish, Japanese as well?
No, I'm learning Japanese, but
yeah.
I speak Spanish, French, Chinese, Taiwanese, and English.
In addition to language, do you need other things to force yourself to go abroad, to meet with other people? Courage and
Courage is one, but I think curiosity more than anything else. You need to want to go to these places. You need to have the desire to learn about the places. You can have the courage to go somewhere and be completely in a bubble. You're not curious about anything, and you won't learn a thing. You won't become more international. But if you don't have courage, but you have the curiosity, you can get to a place, and it you kind of forget. You're so excited to be there to learn about these things that you forget that you're afraid, and then you learn amazing things about places. So I think my biggest advice is just to be curious. Obviously be aware there are some dangerous places. So do your research. And then once you're done with that, buy the ticket and you're done.
But from your own personal experience of interacting with the local students, young people, do you think that they have that kind of courage or curiosity that you just talked about to really make themselves more internationalized?
I think so, now more than ever. Before, maybe because of the limitations of traveling and transportation, maybe people were a little bit more scared. But now I'm finding, especially women, like there's tons of girls that come up to me and maybe inspired by, hopefully me or, other travelers, who realize that, hey, you don't have to be a man, or you don't have to be rich, or you don't have to be, whatever, to be able to travel. And I like to encourage, women, men, anybody to go out. And I think I'm starting to see that response, that people are starting to want to learn about other places and want to go travel, and I think that's absolutely great.
But what is the most difficult part in knowing other people, other places?
Probably getting past the cultural differences. For example, you go to India and you can show your stomach, but you can't show your shoulders. So if you want to go into a temple, I made that mistake. I was wearing a tank top, but I was completely covered everywhere else. And they wouldn't allow me in. And I was like, I'm proper. It says proper clothing. But for them, proper clothing is covering the shoulders. Because I saw these women, with their stomachs showing. Like, hey, I don't understand. Like, why can't I go in? And this didn't happen to me, but my sister went to an Arabic country, and women there are not supposed to walk around alone. So she didn't know, and she was walking around just in the market, and some guy just basically came up to her and slapped her.
Really?
Yeah, and later on she found out that as a woman you can't be walking in certain places. So I think that's kind of like these stories that you hear that scare people and kind of are risks that you take when you travel, because you don't know what you're getting into.
That's right.
It's a foreign country.
Is there any horrible experiences you have when you're traveling to those places?
No, the worst one. I've been lucky. I've heard terrible stories of people being held up by guns and stuff. But my worst experience is actually funny now that I think back at it. I was in India, in Rajasthan, which is very close to Pakistan. There are warring tribes. And the men there are allowed to have several wives. I didn't know this. So I went there and I hired a local camel driver to take me on a tour, a 3-day safari kind of where we're in the desert. And after the second day, he started to ask me, very strange questions. He started to like, oh, so do you like Indian men? And I was like, oh, yeah. I started to get nervous. And anyways, it happened that he said, well, I think you're very attractive. Do you want to be my third wife?
Third wife, okay.
And I thought he was joking. I didn't know they had, several wives. So I was like, oh, sure, of course, And later on, I was like, no, I was just kidding. He's like, no, you already said that you would want to marry me. You can't go against your word. And at that point, I started to get scared because he was starting to be very, very aggressive.
Okay.
Luckily, I got out of the situation fine, but that was the worst that I've come across.
Okay. Let's talk about your program. What have you learned most from hosting the TV program?
About hosting or about Taiwan?
About Taiwan, about your, hosting the program in general. In
general, I've learned that Taiwan is just beautiful. I've fallen in love with the island, really, with the people here, with the foods, with the mountains, the sea, everything. And in terms of hosting it, I've realized that it's just fun. I've never had an experience like this before. I've always loved traveling by myself, but to be able to carry an entire crew, and behind that crew are the viewers with me, it makes me want to get to know Taiwan even more. It makes me want to go to the small alleys, to get to know these amas and akongs and, and the Aboriginals that are all over the place, to get the more essence of Taiwan. So I think just basically I've learned that it's a beautiful, great country, and I don't have any plans on leaving it.
Yeah. Janet, thank you for coming to our program.
Thank you
Wish
very
you
much
and
for
your
having
program
me.
a big success.
Thank you.
And happy fun in Taiwan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Taiwan Outlook. See you next week.